That frustration you're feeling is not just a random side effect of the scenario that you're in. Well, it's a calculated, well thought out methodology to push you. That's right. Targeted individuals are pushed, and they're pushed hard. It's one thing to look at this on the psychological level to where people are being gaslighted and, driven insane. But it doesn't always go that far, depending on how you want to look at it. Some people react. There's that scenario to where, you're dealing with, a bully, right? Everybody grows up, they got bullies to deal with. And, usually you just got to stand up to them. Even if you get, beat up or whatever, they usually don't want to do it again if you're willing to, because the whole idea is to chase you around. But not always. Sometimes you run into that situation where you're just outclassed. And, especially in the scenario of the targeted individual, you're outnumbered. So, what do you do, right? A lot of people, they snap and they go out on a rampage or something. We've talked about, the mass shootings. Are they byproducts of gang stalking? I think some of them are. We all remember Myron May, and there's more. And some of these people, they leave things behind that, they suggest that they were, targeted individuals because they're dead. You can't talk to them. But, you're dealing with that. And depending on what kind of scenario you're in, you're forced to, just kind of take it. There's people in the comments that have talked about carrying weapons. And I used to carry weapons. I had a couple pistols, rifle, and shotgun. I used to be into martial arts, and I was a wrestler when I was a kid. I'm crippled now. You wouldn't want to get too close to me and try and hurt me, though. But, it really sucks that you have to sit around and think about that, And fear is one of the ways that people are pushed, too. I was talking to a guy who, he was getting to the point where he was thinking about getting a firearm. And, there's other people that I know that did. And there's a lot of information out there online. I don't know if it's true or not. You got some of that stuff. I don't know. I mean, you have to get you have to speculate a lot, that they're trying to, scare you to the point where your, adrenal glands are going to become overactive so they can get adrenochrome from you or something. I don't know. I've been, dealing with this stuff for decades, and I used to get threats. I've run into scenarios. I worked with some people that were like that when I was younger. You're going to deal with all kinds of street theater. This one guy, he used to mumble, and I've talked about mumblers. You got to love the mumblers. They're easy to ignore. All you have to do is just pretend like you're not hearing any of it, and they'll come out of the closet. You got to make these people work. You do. But this guy, he just started coming up to me, and he walked up one day and he just said, "Yeah, well, when it gets violent, then you're gonna know, and you're not gonna like it, And he would say things like that. I got a lot of comments like that, and people are gonna get pushed. They're gonna get scared. They're gonna wonder if their life is in danger. They're gonna get attacked in a lot of different ways, and it's it's unfortunate. I grew up using firearms. I think I had my first firearm when I was probably about 6 years old. I mean, it's it's something that you're going to have to wrestle with, right? If it comes down to that, I know that I know that, it's going to be ugly. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to use one of those things, especially if you had, as much experience as I have with firearms. Yeah, but anyway, let's switch over to just the depression that people experience, because that's dangerous too, right? People are harassed, and there's a lot of hindrance gaslighting, so they become hopeless. Their harassment's going to change. They'll get hit, and then it'll back off, and then they'll maybe assume that their life can be engaged again, that they can get involved in whatever. And then it happens. Reality comes crashing in, and you just don't want to try, because you didn't understand your situation, or you didn't want to, right? You want to believe something, just to keep yourself going. A lot of people do that. A lot of times people will believe lies just because it's just something that they want. And, they look around in their life and they're like, well, what's the difference? There's a lot of religious doctrine that's like that, It's like, the old Loch Ness Monster. People, they believe in that because they want it. They need it. They do. Bigfoot, I'm not gonna argue with anybody, about that kind of stuff. That's fine. It is what it is. But a lot of things, you talk yourself into it just because of your scenario, I guess. Doesn't seem like anything matters anyway. You get depressed. You got to be realistic about it, and in a healthy way, right? And the other thing is that a lot of messages are going to be coming in at people who are experiencing gang stalking. There's going to be a lot of lies and a lot of coercion and a lot of opportunities for the target to become psychosomatic, right? You're gonna try and find an explanation for what's happening to you, whether anybody says anything or not. And a lot of times targets are pretty normal people, and so at that point they have to assume that there's some kind of lie or rumor. We've talked about that. Oh, these people must believe something horrible because, and then a lot of times that'll come across in the street theater too. And I think it happens. I think disinformation campaigns do happen. And, the thing is now you've got the deep fake video stuff. Who knows what people can do with that? And then you just have the old-fashioned money incentive for people to engage the individual, the target. They like that. Everybody usually, does it for the money. Yeah, they do. The other thing, targeted individuals are pushed into is talking about this stuff, right? And a lot of the messages that, victims get is that people already know. Right. That's one of the big themes that targeted individuals deal with. Everybody knows. Everybody in your community knows. Everybody's watching you. It's the Truman Show or whatever. And I've heard that. I've heard people that they get in maybe even a confrontation with the police because they think that somehow they can figure something out, or that the police already know. And of course they're going to believe you. That you're a victim of, a gang stalking conspiracy because, they already know about it. Everybody does. They're watching the targeted individual show, every night at dinner. I'm not making fun of you. I mean, it's crazy. It is. This whole thing is nuts. But, that's one of the things that happens. Or people, they trust people. And you can't. I've heard a lot of targeted individuals talk about how, their family is doing this and that, or people around them are doing this and that. And I'm like, hey, man, why don't you quit talking about this stuff and just pretend like it was a passing phase, because, this sounds dangerous. And I know how it works. And the thing is that, people around you can get together and, try and cause trouble. I've had it happen. Okay. My family's tried it several times. And, it can get pretty evil. I used to have a drinking problem I talked about. And, they would push me, and, I'm not going to blame them for, my decision to drink, even though that's what they wanted. And I'd get drunk or something, and, then they'd have somebody break in my house, trash the place, all my, cords and everything from my VCR game systems, TV, and all that. They'd tie it together in a bunch of knots, and the phone lines are cut, and I'm drugged, and everything's thrown into the bathtub with, the plants. Everything is just crazy, And I'm like, God, what the hell? And then, then all of a sudden you get knocks on the door, and oh yeah, your family's, people from AA or something. Yeah, they said that you were having some trouble. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Or they'll do the welfare checks, right? They did that up at the place where I was living that I have on gang stalking crime scene evidence too. And they were not fixing the siding on purpose. They had the insurance for the trailer I was living in. They didn't fix the roof, and they just try to make you look as crazy as possible, and then close in on you and push you, and it can happen. You got to be careful. The criteria out there for diagnosing people is getting kind of scary. I've mentioned before, Hidden Enemy, Psychiatry's Covert Agenda. It's a free movie. You can watch it on YouTube. You have a lot of criteria for diagnosing people. Everybody's crazy. It really comes down to that, to where, if does somebody have a mental problem? Well, that all depends on the criteria, right? And there's a lot of it. And now with the deal we're faced to confront with the jab that nobody wants, well, they've got criteria for that too. Now, evangelicals are on a list of, radical nuts. And, mental illness has moved over in the criteria to where, if you're a religious person, technically you're crazy, That's not good. They were classifying citizens a long time ago. I used to look into this stuff back in the 80s. And they had all kinds of things. They didn't have targeted individuals back then. They didn't have anything called gang stalking. It was more of kind of a different type of conspiracy, but that's what it was. It was basically the powers that be against the people. And, there was talk of, secret military installations and stuff like that. And, they were classifying people. They had colors to, the compliance and threat level that certain citizens were underneath, and they had all this information and data. And, it's just a trip to think about that. And so you got to be careful. What I'm saying is you can get pushed into a place where, things can be used against you. I'm worried about, the fact that I've got this channel. Is it anonymous? Well, it depends. And, you think, well, if somebody knows about it, they're already stalking you anyway. If somebody knows something's on your phone, it's because they've hacked into it. They got to be real careful how they use that information, right? But they're still going to try and push you. And that's kind of the point. You got to be careful. You do. Some people criticize me for saying this, but I think it's okay to lie. If you're targeted, like this, I think it's okay. It's no one's business what you're dealing with. And, if somebody, tries to draw you out, they're going to do that and starts asking you a bunch of key questions and sticking their nose in your business, don't let them push you. Don't. Guys, be good to yourselves. Be safe.